in Toronto and then at Yale. But you were using a false data set of what we were given instead of breaking out of that, to kind of paraphrase what you said. So leaving off there and then wherever you want to go with your big predictions that are coming true, I think it's safe to say Trump was tricked into this war. You sold that it would dominate energy and all the rest of it, but that was only one layer of it. I want to get into why did the U.S. attack Iran? Why can't Trump negotiate a ceasefire? Why did Trump visit China? Is the U.S.-China grand bargain in the works? Is there a new realignment? Will Trump abandon Taiwan? Are the U.S. and China secretly collaborating to roll out an AI surveillance state? Is a civil war in the United States coming? Will Trump get a third term, as he's been talking about, or being the new Israeli prime minister? So, Professor, stop whenever you want, because, I'll definitely love to talk. But I want, if you can, for the time we have, you've got the floor here. Give us a presentation to wherever you want to go. Thank you so much.
So before we even get to the professor here, guys, and I must apologize, but a quick question, like, can any of you guys believe that really DJT is talking about a third term? Talk about tone deaf, right? Because right now it seems like people are even contemplating about whether he can even finish his second term, and it looks like they're already floating a third term. And besides, I don't believe that that is a thing in the United States of America, but I might be wrong. So y'all let me know in the chats, like, do you think that, like, this is even, like, why would he even be exploring such an option, being that his approval rating is around the 30% rating right now? Why would he be thinking that that is even an option for him? Is this guy completely just disconnected from reality, or is there something else going on that we're missing? Let's talk about it in the chat. We're going to dive right in and hear what the professor has to say.
Trump was tricked into this war. And it is true that Trump is trying very hard to get out of this war because he understands the economic, political repercussions of this war. But I would say that there are different factions involved that want to make this war possible and want to prolong this war. So the first faction is the American empire, the deep state, the national security apparatus. And the reason why they want this war is that in order to maintain the empire, they need to be able to control energy flows. And after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, there's a real fear that Russia could unite the Eurasian continent, right? Create this grand alliance between Iran, Russia, and China. If that were to happen, then they could just trade amongst themselves. They could negate American naval power. And so that would basically cause an economic collapse because, unfortunately, right now, the U.S. dollar, it's a Ponzi scheme, and it relies on more and more nations buying U.S. treasuries. But for these past few years, more and more nations have been buying gold. And so with this Russian invasion of Ukraine, people have lost confidence in the American empire. They lost confidence in U.S. treasuries. And so America was facing a fiscal crisis. So this war against Iran is to assert American control over key maritime choke points around the world, including the Strait of Hormuz, including the Strait of Malacca, the Strait of Gibraltar, the Panama Canal, the Cape of Good Hope, all the major choke points around the world. And by doing so, the hope is to force the entire world to rely more and more on American energy. Now that Middle East oil has been taken offline, China, especially China, Southeast Asia, Japan, South Korea have become much more dependent on American LNG.
That is a very interesting point right there. And this is something that actually I debated with my brother, because I was mentioning that, have you actually explored the possibility that it could be that America going in there and actually doing a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz, and everybody's laughing like, ha ha ha, Iran, they've closed up the strait and now they control the strait. And I was asking him, I said, could it be that this is all by design for Iran to actually mess up the oil flow coming out of the Middle East, so that then the United States can then swoop in, right? And then become like the main suppliers of oil. And I also brought his attention to the Venezuela thing, right? Where we know that Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world, albeit they have a very thick oil, right? Thick and sour. Unlike the one that you have in like the US, where it's like more thin and sweet. The one in Venezuela is thicker and sour. But the US, of course, they actually have like refineries that actually prefer the thicker and more sour oil. And actually, I looked it up, and actually, it looks like Venezuela's oil exports are actually back on an upswing. So I said, could it be that that is why the US, they're actually on purpose luring Iran into this conflict? And does Iran need to be clever to not mess up what they have in their region? But this is just food for thought. I want to hear what you guys have to say about it in the chat. I'll keep the clip playing here.
And energy from the Western Hemisphere. So Trump recently visited China, and apparently they're going to sign a major deal in the next few weeks or the next few months, where China will purchase more and more American LNG to compensate for the loss of Qatar. Okay, so that's one element, the fact that America is trying to maintain the hegemony of the US dollar and trying to save its empire from collapsing into a Ponzi scheme. Okay, that's the first element. Second element is the eschatological factor, in that you have many Zionists, both Christian Zionists and Jewish Zionists, who are embedded in the national security apparatus, and they believe that this war in Iran will start a chain of events that will ultimately lead to the second coming of Jesus, as well as the coming of the Jewish Messiah, and really the creation of the Greater Israel Project.
You know, like at this point in time, like I will believe anything, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised if there is indeed a second coming of Jesus, right? Because what can surprise us with the way things are going in today's world? Nothing will surprise me. Like literally, if somebody floats down from the skies with a halo on their head and claims to be like the second coming, I wouldn't even be surprised at this point. Like it's almost like everything going on is like end sign times, right? We already have wars, rumors of wars, natural disasters, like people getting angrier, things just getting more tense. So it's almost biblical. So you know what? I kind of agree with the Israelis on this one, right? That like we're like in the biblical end times. I wouldn't be surprised one bit.
That right now the American economy is not doing well. Trump is interested in a third term.
Do you think I'm going to sell you something that doesn't really work?
So again, with the third term talk, right? This guy right there, DJT, is completely tone deaf. To be talking about a third term when people are already sick of his second term. Like he couldn't even make it into the second term, right? Like he ran the first time, he won, and then he lost his second term. And now this is his third term, right? Even though it's like he lost the second time. And there's already talk of impeachment just based on like his recent antics. So for him to be talking about a third term, talk about tone deaf, really.
To justify a third term. So I would say that there are much larger geopolitical factors at work, and we need to take these factors into account before we can fully appreciate how this war will develop.
And we have to look at your original predictions that came true. Maybe that's the time now. And the third one, that we've lost the war. And I totally agree with what you said is very nuanced. Trump was sold to block the IMEC corridor, to block China and India, and to stop the BRICS, but really it's only accelerated it. Now he's actually listening to the Pentagon, his advisors, and trying to pull out, but it looks like a day late, $1 short, because it's already 86 days in, a little too late. He's already really hurt the dollar, hurt us worldwide. This is a disaster. Now he's run to China to do an alliance, hopefully to get out of this plan, because obviously us going down will create a world depression and get China too. So there is this damn if you don't, old globalist bargain, that final piece that he ran away from, he's not.
So that's what confuses me, right? It's like, which one is it, right? Because we heard the Professor Jiang earlier saying that America wants to become like the main suppliers of oil worldwide. So if that is their plan, then it would mean that DJT wasn't tricked into this war. It's all being done by design.